Hello class and welcome to Chapter 8's lecture. In this chapter we're going to be talking about the global mindset and what that means for businesses. So let's get started. The global mindset refers to a mindset or personality, if you will, perspective towards doing business globally. It regards looking at business as though it is operated around the world as opposed to just in your local home market or even in just your own country or even a specific region, but it really understands that global business is interconnected in ways that cannot be untangled, and that interconnection is only getting deeper and more entrenched over time. As such, organizations are reaching out and competing in multiple nations. They're competing globally more and more and more. So having a mindset that understands global implications is very important. Recruiting talent is very important. Talent that understands what it means to have a global mindset and how to operate in a global environment. There are 6 key elements that have been identified by the text as being important components of having a global mindset. 1 is freedom of choice. 2 is free markets, individualism, innovation and tolerance of change, tolerance of diversity, and interdependence and connectedness. We're going to talk about each of these briefly. Through research, Dennison et al. In 2004 identified 4 organizational cultural values or traits that positively correlate with organizational performance, which means that the stronger you are on these traits, the stronger your organizational performance would be. Those traits are involvement, consistency, adaptability, and mission. Involvement refers to empowering employees to build teams and developing the capacity at all levels so that they believe in the purpose of the organization and that they're actively working towards helping to fulfill the organizational goals. Consistency refers to having leaders who talk the talk and walk the walk. So they're not just out barking orders or giving instructions, but you actually see them literally living out the principles, the values, the practices that the organization promotes. Adaptability refers to an organization that's willing to listen to its customers, listen to the business environment, that's willing to take risks, but when those risks don't work out, learn from those mistakes, and is constantly seeking improving. So you could throw in here the learning organization underneath this attribute as well. And lastly is mission, having a clear sense of purpose and direction along with the vision of how the organization should look in the future. So people are future minded, they're passionate and committed to the vision, and to that end, they're willing to work towards that. There are 4 key elements of a global mindset that have been identified: flexibility, acceptance, curiosity, and empathy. Flexibility refers to how quickly people and or organizations respond to market changes and market situations. Acceptance refers to recognizing across organization uh, that no race or country is better than another, right? That simply markets and people are different, but not necessarily that those differences make one more or less superior to the other. Curiosity, eagerness to engage, um, eagerness to learn about different markets and to acquire knowledge so that knowledge can be used to help exploit the market, to be used to help the company do better. And lastly, empathy. This is willingness to understand other people's feelings, understand the situations, the business context that other organizations may be in, and to seek out win-win situations when you're in negotiations, when you're in conflict situations. There are 5 actions that an organization must do if they're going to have a global mindset. Action number 1 is they have to commit to having a global culture. They have to have rules, policies, actions that all support the ideas of the things that we talked about in the aforementioned slides. Empathy, understanding of different cultures, curiosity. It not only has to be talked about, but it has to be embedded in what people do. And that starts at the top of the organization. So it starts with the senior management and it trickles down. Number 2, structures and processes for global alignment and coordination. So it's important that organizations create policies so that the company can do business internationally, right? So if you're only worried about your own home market, your policies and procedures that you have in the company will be designed for only that country. They'll follow the rules and the legislation for that country. They'll adhere to the cultural norms of that country. But if you're going to expand out to other countries, then you have to adjust your policies and procedures accordingly, and you have to consider those other countries policies and procedures and their culture as well. Third would be infrastructure for global communication. Technology is continuing to advance, and that's really what's at the forefront of driving communication. And a lot of the technologies we have available today can help more tightly integrate the communications between companies and their different divisions in other countries. Assessment of global mindset potential. So here we're talking about the employees. We have to be able to identify which employees will fit into a global organization, which employees are likely to have a global mindset and can easily develop into that, because you may want to focus on training those employees to become senior executives in the company. And then assigning employees to global projects. So this kind of ties into number 4, but you want to start designing projects and assignments to have a global focus to them, to have an international component, and start giving those out to employees to help encourage them to develop that mindset of a global mindset. When it comes to, as I mentioned before in the previous slide, when it comes to identifying employees who may have a great potential for a global mindset, this is a tool that you can use. It's called the Thunderbird Mindset Assessment Tool. It's a survey, web-based survey consisting of 76 questions. It takes about 10 minutes to complete, and you'll get a report that talks about basically the individual, the employee who took the survey, their global mindset, right? Where their potential is, where their potential could be in the future, and it'll help you understand better in terms of how willing that employee is to embrace the attributes that we mentioned earlier, which help a company be prepared for global operations. Organizations can approach globalization and work with their employees in one or two different ways. And there's a lot of approaches, but we're just going to focus on 2 here. And one is the sink or swim style, and the other is a development style. So the sink or swim style basically is a company that says, hey, here's your international assignment, or here, we're going to move you out globally, and they put you out there and you have to figure it out on your own. This is a tough style, right? Employees are left on their own to figure out what's important for success, how to succeed. They're not given a lot of training, they're not getting a lot of support, but they're told this is what we need you to accomplish. If they fail to accomplish those goals, they're simply replaced. And the company continues replacing employees until they find one employee who's able to deliver on those challenges. The other philosophy is called a development philosophy, and this approach focuses on training and developing employees to be successful in global environments. So you have a lot more coaching, a lot more support that's given to the employee from the organization in terms of global assignments. Employees they're rewarded based on making progress over time, not kind of, did you get there, yes or no? If you didn't, I'm going to replace you. If you did, you could stay. They're rewarded based on making progress over time. In this slide, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that whole approach between development and sink or swim. As you can see here on the left, you have the development approach. On the right, you have the sink or swim. We're going to add 2 additional components here. One is paternalistic component. This is where organizations are going to function more as parents and giving lots of support. And then the other is a meritocracy or meritocratic approach, which says, hey, you're going to get rewards based off of merit, based off of what you've done, what you specifically worked to accomplish. When you add these dimensions in, you get 4 different types of approaches to global mindset. Country club, high performance, high involvement, cutthroat, and political. Let's take a look at each of these environments and give them some definition. So the cutthroat environment, this tends to attract people who like being recognized and rewarded for their performance. However, because of the nature of the environment, it can encourage dysfunctional behaviors because failure is not an option. Therefore, people may engage in behaviors with the mindset of, I'll get there by any means necessary. The country club environment is a company that sets a very lax, very loose environment. It provides support and opportunities for development, but it doesn't lack rigor. It doesn't provide you with strong guidance, strong objectives. The evaluation process is very loose. It's not something that really brings a lot of value to the employee to help them with their performance. The political culture, it creates extreme pressure to be successful and extreme punishment for failure. It causes employees to avoid risk and to hesitate speaking up because of fear from other people that may not agree with them. High performance, high involvement environment. Employees with a track record of success are provided with additional support and incentives, and employees are generally held accountable for what they do, but not in a punitive way. So we're not punishing you if you made a mistake. We're going to help support you and give you what you need to try to turn around, but you're going to be held accountable. You will have to answer for any failures that you have. Each of these approaches have their benefits and their drawbacks, as you can see. So I'm not going to say that one approach is better than the other. If I were to pick one, I probably would say the high performance, high involvement one would be my preference. But it depends on what the personality is of the employee, whether or not he'll succeed or fail in a specific environment. The last thing we want to talk about here when it comes to globalization, global mindset within an organization is expatriates. An expatriate is a person who has a home country, but they leave that home country to go work in another country. So expatriate is a person who lives outside and works outside of his or her home country. Nearly half of the expatriates gain new knowledge from their international assignments. Now, that's great. And you would say, as a company, I send people overseas to work. They're getting a lot of new knowledge. They're learning some things. They're having some successes. But there is a place where companies drop the ball when it comes to expatriates, that they fail to get that knowledge back and integrate it into the organization, which is kind of surprising given how much money that they invest in international assignments and expatriates. Most companies fail to offer training and support for expatriates' families that move overseas. Generally speaking, if an employee has a family and he or she moves overseas to take an assignment for a year or two, his or her family will move all over there with them. And companies, they may provide support for the employee, but a lot of times they lack providing support for the family and helping them to get over any cultural hurdles that they may run into. Many companies need to offer better help integrating expatriates back into the country and ensuring that the career progression of that person is protected. And what we mean by that is a lot of employees, when they leave to go overseas, they are separated from their initial mentor and contact base because they're now thousands of miles away. So over time, those individuals who are in the home country, they move on. They may move to a different company. They may get promoted. They get transferred to different positions. So now the expatriate 2 years later is coming back and they notice that their support network that they had before leaving is broken up, is fractured. Organizations can do a lot better with helping employees who are overseas come back to the United States to get a job in the host country, but then also have that be something that aids in their career. That wraps it up for this lecture. If there's any questions, be sure to let me know. We'll see you next time. Thank you.